Hey guys, let me get this off here. Hey, thanks for being here. Hi, Deborah. It's nice to see you. Hi, beautifully broken woman. Thanks for being here. So, I don't know if you all just saw it. I follow Harsh, and I think he's entertaining and he's funny. Anyway, he just put out a video, I mean, within an hour or so, and it's his birthday. And he was letting us know that he finally was able to find something he had been looking for a long time. And that something was apparently a person challenging challenging the Gonzabus family directly, not sort of just kissing their butts or whatever, which is what I guess they typically do on that page. I don't really know what they do on the page. I'm saying this is what he's saying. So, yes, long time no see, absolutely. So anyway, I don't go on their page. I think, for a lot of reasons, but regardless, I think it's nice that they have a page and they're able to voice what they feel and all this other stuff and remember their daughter. But apparently, at some point, someone challenged them directly on the page and is basically like, okay, well, what is why do you really think Brian did this? Okay. And I think that I always expected the Gonzalez family to have this really straightforward answer, like some information we didn't have. I always expected this if they ever did give an answer like this. Hi, Elle. How are you? I hate to say it, guys, but I haven't even been following that case. I can't. It's too much. It's like the ransom notes and the suspense, and we found her here, and then there's a ransom for Bitcoin. It's too much of a Tom Clancy type novel. And it's just bizarre to me. It really is. I haven't. I'm not saying it's not real or whatever. I'm just saying I feel like you know it's interesting. Is all how Good Morning America's ratings have just incredibly skyrocketed. And the way that it's presented, at least on YouTube, is very much like a murder mystery. It's like a movie. And when I see things like that, red flags are popping off in my head. And so I have not paid one bit of attention to it, honestly. And that doesn't mean I don't think that, you know, it doesn't mean anything other than the fact that my brain is telling me it doesn't matter. And I don't know why, but if it is indeed real, God bless. I hope they find her. I'll leave it at that. I came on here to talk about the Gonzabus family and essentially what Harsh was doing earlier today, reading this post. So I wanted to just get back to that because I tend to. It's hard for me to be critical of anybody who lost a child in any way, shape, or form. And then when you look at the way that they lost their child, right? I don't ever want to know what that feels like. Okay. I don't ever want to know. But here's the thing. I can be critical on both sides. And this is why I think um if it's true, if they allegedly, if what Harsh says they responded in this Facebook post is true, then it makes me feel really sad because that means that Christy Gonzalez, what she answered with, and you should go listen to Harsh's video. I'm not going to play it and tell you all about it. I'll tell you a few things, but she didn't present any information that was evidence. It was the same things that we heard and they heard from the beginning. It was stalking. There was Wi-Fi touching 12 times. Why didn't he have an alibi? She asked. He couldn't prove where his alibi was. Why did every single professor or person who met him think he was either a creep or a weirdo? These were her reasons. This is what she was listing. And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying this because you have to listen to her reasons. When you listen to all of her reasons, this is what broke my heart, okay? Most of them, actually all of them, were logical fallacies. In other words, you could pick out the faults in the reasoning of each and every one of the things that she put on there, okay? And then something more interesting popped into my mind, which is she is doing the same thing that she might think we're doing, which is she's tying together a bunch of these odd little facts that she can't prove. And she's saying because of these odd little facts, like his phone happened to be turned off. Well, maybe his phone ran out of battery, or maybe, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying maybe, or, that he was by their house 12 times. Everybody says it's better to shop in Moscow. So, and he wasn't actually that close to their house. Like he didn't actually ever touch their Wi-Fi. Or the stalking allegations. He was never, there were never any charges pressed. And we know WSU is pushing back on this. Okay. And the fact that they're pushing back on it is a shocker, because if a university is guilty of something, they're going to hush. Let's get this shut down quickly and get an NDA and everybody go the fuck away. If WSA is clapping back at all, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I heard Miss Potts kind of talking about, if they're clapping back at all, it's like, okay, well then maybe there's no meat on that bone that they're trying to go after. And so why aren't they suing the University of Idaho? Because we all know that's who needs to be sued. Okay. The University of Idaho needs to be sued, and the town of Moscow needs to be sued. But aside from all of that, okay, what I'm sensing, and this is me, my psychic, whatever you want to call it, I'm not trying to be sarcastic or mean in any way. What I feel badly about when I say that, it's not a patronizing thing. I feel badly because when she was most destabilized, when the Goncalves family was most destabilized, but mothers can be different sometimes. It depends. But regardless, she found out like her daughter died in this horrific way. Okay. And she's most destabilized, and she's just trying. I can't even imagine how it feels. When I think about it, it makes me upset. Like I could cry. I lost my best friend when I was 18 and she was 19. It was a car accident. And if you've ever lost someone suddenly like that you just thought was always going to be there, it's a trauma that, it's a difficult trauma. Okay. Because you learn, especially if it happened to you at a young age, you learn that like at any point someone can disappear. Like just at any point some shit can happen. Okay. And when you learn that at a younger age, it's something you become hyper vigilant for, unfortunately. All right. And so you're just like, every time you talk to someone, you may feel the need to repair any kind of issues that's going on, because you're like, fuck, like if I hung up on them and I'm mad at them, then, what if they die? What if something, that kind of shit. Okay. That's what happens when you have a sudden death like that. I don't mean like grandma dies or something. And that's not belittling a grandmother's death. My grandmother is a queen. I freaking miss both of them. I'm just saying, if it's a young person that dies suddenly, that's a major fucking trauma. Okay. That's a trauma. If that happens to you when you're young, it's really bad. And I would imagine, depending on who you are, like this was my best friend. She was like a sister to me, but her mother and her father, they were never the same, And so like, I don't even really like to talk about this stuff too much because it's so sad. Okay. And so I guess whenever people are going to say anything about the Gonzabus family, one way or another, I just want to like try to bring it down to earth and say, all of her reasons, I agree, they're not really great, right? But they're all things that make sense to her. And they were imprinted in her fucking brain when she was filled with trauma. Like imagine, like you're in a pool and you're drowning and you're just trying to get up there. Like you don't even know if you can put your foot on the ground the next day. Like you don't even know. It hurts to breathe because you're so fucking depressed and grieving over what's happened. Okay. And all you can cling to is vengeance. Who the fuck did this to my kid? That's the only thing that's keeping you going. I will find who did this to my kid and I will fucking make them pay. All right. And people got upset about that. Oh my God, they're upset about that. There was nothing wrong with that. I can understand why people got upset when it's directed toward Brian, right? I get it because Brian is not convicted. And I honestly think he's innocent. I'm just going to say it. I did my video on why I think he's innocent and why I think he pled guilty, which was to avoid the death penalty. That's a very common thing to do in a scenario like this. Okay. And so, I think he was just scared shitless. He didn't want to die. And his mother, if you recall, Brian Kohberger's mother, that's another thing they mentioned. I'll say that in a second. But Brian Kohberger's mother, she put out the cheering the hearse, that made it in the syndicated news or something, how she was devastated to see a group of people cheering at the fact that this serial killer was killed. So we know how she feels about the death penalty. Okay. But we also know something else. She's a Catholic, okay? I don't know why this hasn't been talked about or what, but I would bet any amount of money that she is a practicing, observant Catholic. I would put money on it, okay? And I, because she's Catholic, she has certain values. She went to a Catholic school in Brooklyn where she grew up, all right? So she is a full-blooded, like, Italian Catholic. Okay, even though she looks kind of like a bubby, she's not. She's an Italian Catholic, apparently. Okay. And so, she went to Catholic school as a little girl. All right. She's a religious woman. I have a lot of Catholics in my family, some of them more religious than others, but I'm just saying, to me, she looks like a very much a nonna, like a Catholic nonna that's going to mass every day, before she went to work type thing. I'm just saying, I could be wrong, but when one of the reasons why Christy Gonzabus allegedly wrote in this post that Harsh talks about, is also, she said, well, why did his family never stick up for him? If that was my kid, I'd be doing this and that. Well, she's doing the same thing. That's a logical fallacy too, because you can never assume just because you would do this, someone else would. You can't do it because you're not in their shoes. We are in the third dimension. You have to be in the fourth dimension in order to know everything that's going on in their life, which is why one of the commandments or one of the things God says, or all religions really say, is don't judge other people because you really never fucking know what they're going through, right? So now she's even doing it to him, to his family, which that happens, right? She hasn't integrated the loss of her daughter yet, and she may never be able to do that. Some people can't. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it, like how that happens. It's devastating for all of these families, okay? But I just want to get back to one last point, which is even with, the Goncalves family, or even with Christy allegedly saying, like, I can't believe the family never said anything. The family did say something, though. They did, and they tastefully said, I think they might have said something 3 times total. And one of them was Melissa Kohberger's New York Post article, which I guess they were upset about some of the things. But they're upset because they're angry. They can't see things clearly. They think Brian is a devil and that his sister has even like any feelings or anything nice to say about him. They're going to put that anger on her. They're just, listen, that doesn't make them bad people. It just makes them unable to see the picture, right? Like, how they can't see that picture. And this is the other thing, right? When people are in that kind of stress, right? Imagine this. This is how they brainwash people, just so you know. This is how they brainwash us. I mean, when they have 9/11, like 9/11, right? The World Trade Center, okay? That was they traumatized us with that. Like major ritual, traumatized, all that shit, right? September 10th, Charlie Kirk allegedly shot here. It looks pretty phony, but okay, allegedly shot here. September 10th is no accident. People love the numbers and all this shit, right? Guys, I went on one of my tangents and I don't remember where I was going. I'm sorry if you're new here. I do that sometimes. I gotta reel it in. My brain is going too fast for my thoughts. So I gotta slow it down. All I'm saying is this, okay? I feel badly because if you can imagine, oh, I know what I was talking about. MK Ultra and Catholic nonnas, because I really think Brian Kohberger's mother is an Anna. I just think she does. And I don't know if she has any grandkids. I don't think she does, but she'd probably be a really good Nana. So when Miss Gonzabus Christie allegedly says, how come they haven't said anything? They have said something. It's just they haven't said it loudly because, in fact, when they did say something the first time, and I'm not going to find it, but you guys, you can search it up. One of the first things they said was like the sweetest statement ever, like the most kind, like compassionate statement you could write. Like you can tell, in my opinion, they seem like super kind people. They really do. They just seem like a nice family. Okay. I mean, some of their back history with some of them I've seen, but I can't prove that. And that's why I've never gone and talked about that because I don't really know how much of that is real or bullshit. I have my suspicions about them also having some kind of military ties and things like that. Okay. Because they're always looking different. Melissa Kohberger and her sister. And it's a lot there. It's a lot to unpack there. But regardless of all of that, I believe they seem like really kind, nice people. And I don't think that's phony. Like it's not like Erica Kirk trying to look caring. Like these people, when they were grieving in the room, when Brian's mom was like crying, like she looked real. Either she's Academy Award winning performer or it's genuine fucking grief. To me, it looked like genuine grief. And his sister looked like she was in shock and trauma. Okay. So they look like nice people and they're not looking for the spotlight. They're just not. No, they could have made so much money. I know they say that people don't of course they do. They could have made so much money. They could have made a spectacle of themselves. And most people would have. In this day and age, people make spectacles of themselves. They didn't do that. That's how you know they're OG Italian. I'm just going to tell you right now. That's like the Omerta type shit. All right. It really is. That's like the Mafia rules type shit. Okay. That's the type shit like just keep your mouth shut. It's none of your business. It's family matters. Don't talk bad about the family in public. You just don't do it. And honestly, I think a lot of people should live by that. Okay. A lot of people should live by like, you don't talk shit publicly about the family, meaning your own family. Of course, in the mob, it's a lot of people, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't because it's family matters. You talk behind closed doors. So for whatever issues they have, the way they're presenting themselves is very respectable and Christian, Catholic. I'm telling you, I think they're very much Catholics, practicing Catholics. And it was one of the things, I'm getting off track here. Quick tangent. It was also one of the things that a neighbor early on that was interviewed by Brian Enton or someone said, yeah, I think Brian said he might have done a DNA test. He said he was Italian or something. So it's coming up again. And then the Damasis, and then his grandmother on the other side, she looks like a showgirl. She moved to Vegas. She looks very much like an actress. I really think there's some like CIA influence in that family. Allegedly, my psychic. Don't get upset about all this, okay? Like this is just I'm spitballing here. I don't have facts to back that up. I'm admitting it. It's just speculation. Sometimes it comes out of my mouth. Yeah, Kathy Botino. She was a beautiful woman. That blonde hair. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, she was a beautiful woman. And honestly, I think she was probably some type of a showgirl and did some acting or something. Because on Clem Kohberger, which is her brother, I'm sorry, not her brother, her son's Instagram page, which I connected through like OSINT means. It was totally legal. I didn't hack anything. Had some interesting horror stuff on there. I did a video on that. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, I don't want to get off too much on a tangent here. I just wanted to pop on and say you should watch Harsh's video if you haven't seen it. I'd be curious to know what you think of it. Harsh isn't crapping all over the Gonzabus family as I see it. He has very strong opinions about it. The only thing I would say to Harsh, and not that he listens to me or gives a fuck what I would say, but like if I was his friend or something, I would just say, just consider that Mrs. Goncalves, like there's no fight here. Like when you want to get angry at the family, like why does the family believe this shit? Like why do they think this shit? I'm specifically talking about Gonzalez's right now. The other families I'm not going to speak about because they don't talk. We don't know what they're saying. But because Gonzalez are always putting themselves out there, I think it's fair to kind of assess it or question it. So people get mad. Why can't they see it? What do they think about this new information? Well, it turns out there isn't anything that they see new. They're on the same narrative that they were fed in the beginning. And you just have to consider when they were fed that narrative, they were in major trauma and destabilized. You're drowning and someone sends you a rope. Okay. And if that person is a snake, you don't maybe know at that time. So that cop or whoever was giving them the inside info that they alluded to several times in the beginning, who was that person? Did they ever say who that was? Because whoever it was is the one that got in their ear early and led them down a path to believe that it was Kohberger. That's my opinion. And it's one of those things that you might think you might notice it, but not when you're in trauma like that. And that's the thing about the Goncalves family. Again, my psychic, alleged here. Okay, my psychic. This is my opinion. They strike me as people. Obviously, they're very outspoken, which I admire. They're courageous. I admire that too. And they're smart. Okay, they're not stupid people. No matter what anybody wants to say, they're not stupid at all. And people, I see Kaylee's sister. It makes me sad because she's so angry and bitter and she can't see it. She can't. She's so angry and bitter. And I pray that she is able to find peace somehow. I really do. Because and I think she battles it just like Steve battles it, that they know something's not right. Those two know something's not right. They're the type that dig in. Look in the beginning what she did. Okay, look what Olivia did in the very beginning. She got she started calling people. Like she knew a lot, and she changed that timeline initially. Remember, it was 145, the cops kept saying, and she was saying 156. And that was a thing. And that was a thing that happened a lot. They did change the timeline when Lana got that, the FOIA, and they didn't realize what they were giving her. They didn't know how detailed people were going to get into this shit. Okay. They had to change the timeline of the murder after that. They had to let us know about Dylan and Bethany. People think that true crime, like people like me, although I don't do the stuff that Lana does. Lana's incredible. She's got a lot of impact, but do you think that doesn't affect things? She affected that investigation in a good way, not in a bad way, in a good way, just by asking for FOIA and digging in. We could do this anywhere. I'm going to start doing this locally because honestly, there's so much corruption everywhere. It's not fucking hard to find. You just got to pick something and FOIA it and focus on it, and it'll blow up your whole fucking town probably, or the next town over, whatever it is. You get my point, right? There's so much abundance of corruption right now. It's really not hard, right? So, but the fact is she's dedicated to it. And I admire her for that, regardless. Back on track again. Sorry for that little tangent, post-woke tangents, we'll call them. I would just say to Harsh, just consider, a moment where you've been traumatized in your life, because we've all had trauma. We all, nobody gets out of here alive, folks. Nobody fucking gets out of here alive. Okay. We all have trauma. We all suffer. We all have our trials and tribulations. So in a moment where you had that shock, where you thought maybe your hair had turned white and you needed a life preserver, and someone fed you something that made you feel like, okay, good, I'm going to be okay. The world's starting to make sense again. What would you do? Would you even know if you were being manipulated? My guess is none of us would. We like to think we would know, but I don't think any of us really know. In a moment like that, that's the whole point of all of this. When people manipulate, we're right now as a country, Americans, we as a country, as a collective, not as an individual, but as a collective, are being so easily manipulated. The rest of the world can see it. We're just in it, so we don't see it. Look at news from outside of other places at what they're saying. I mean, we're being manipulated with so much propaganda. That's why, like I said, the Nancy Guthrie, I'm not trying to be dismissive, and please don't take it that way. If it's real, I pray that she gets home safely. But to me, none of that tracks is real. None of it does. Not one bit of it, and it didn't from the beginning. And that's just a radar I have, and I could be completely wrong. But I had that same radar and that same vibe with the Kylie Rodney case. I don't know a thing about that case. I don't know a thing about it. I just know that it I never was interested in it. I tracked it as some kind of live action role play shit or something. I don't know. I'm not saying that it's not real, okay? This is my psychic. Allegedly, I was not there. Okay, so nobody get their titties in an uproar over this stuff, okay? This is just speculation talking, free speech. This is why we're in the greatest country in the world right here. America. Don't forget it, guys. As much as you might hate shit right now, and I hate shit. When I say I hate shit, and I don't usually hate shit, but I hate shit because the Epstein stuff is it's worse in some ways because now it's verified. Okay? It's verified, guys. And we all know. I've been following Epstein. I shit you not. I've been following this since 2016 when Cernovich popped up. I was like a full ass political junkie in 2016. I lived on Twitter. I lived on it. And I even went to a couple of like conventions and stuff in DC and met some of these like people, up close. I want to see for myself, who are these people, like Luke We Are Change and Cernovich and Lee Stranahan, who I ended up becoming pretty good friends with, actually. He got so much shit for being a journalist on RT, which is Russian TV. And he was not a Russian asset or a Russian spy. It was so ridiculous. He's a really good journalist. I think he's right now in a nursing home because he's had so many strokes since he had that poison that they made him take for his job. Should have taken the Russian vaccine. That one was a lot safer, I think. Who knows, though? This is just speculation again, just complete speculation. But the point I'm trying to make is, yeah, I was a political junkie. The Acosta deal, absolutely. The Acosta deal was complete and utter. He looks like a chomo, though. Like Acosta looks like a chomo. So I was obsessed with politics in 2016, like obsessed, registered for the primary just so I can vote for Donald Trump. Hate me if you want. I'll tell you now that I regretted it after the first year because I saw his Zionist connections, which I didn't know about. I learned all about Atlantic City and the money he got borrowed after he went bankrupt and how he was voted like the world's greatest Zionist or whatever. And that's fine. I have no problem with someone supporting Israel. I just have a problem when they support Israel and then they make decisions that benefit Israel and hurt America. And he didn't do too much of that in his first term, okay? But I started to notice some things. And then I was over it. And for a while I had that cult of personality, and it's strictly because he was saying things that nobody else was saying. The psyop of Trump hooked me. It hooked me in, but it didn't keep me there past his first year. Okay. And trust me, I had a lot of discussions with people when I thought he was good. And then when I realized he's bad. And the thing is all of them are bad. Like, it's just, how bad are they? And we've had this discussion on my channel before. I'm honestly an anarchist. I'm not a communist anarchist. And I'm not a capitalist anarchist. I mean, like an actual fucking anarchist. Like, let's go into the woods and grow some food and milk the cows and fucking hang out. Maybe grow some weed, some magic mushrooms. Chill the fuck out. Okay? We're going to be happier doing that than this fucking rat race with the plastic. Everybody's got to have more plastic, more fucking electronics, more surveillance, feeling like you're always behind. This is slavery. We're in slavery. I mean, it's so obvious to me now, right? Sorry, I'm getting too worked up. Let me rein it back in, guys. That was a tangent. I was a post-woke tangent. Sorry. Trying to rein this back in. and just bring something like, oh, politics. Yeah. I still follow it, but it's gotten so ridiculous that honestly it's hard to even watch because the one thing I'm impressed by is that everybody in the Senate and the House voted to release these Epstein files. I mean, that's crazy. Normally, the only thing that's ever like voted like that, because everything's always partisan. So it's never like one side. It's never, if whenever you see something where both sides are voting for it, it's a red flag. That should raise the alarm. Not because like it should be that way, but it's never like that. And it's always either because of Israel, because they're agreeing on something for Israel, or some other shit that they're taking some kind of right away from us or whatever, you know? It's always something like that. But this time they both voted for it, and we Trump was forced to let us see it, you know? And I don't want to talk too much about politics, but I will tell you that I got suckered back into it with him, and there's no love lost or anything. I mean, I spent too much time on Twitter for a couple years, and I learned a lot of other shit that I didn't know because I got sober during that time. And I mean, I went down every rabbit hole. The QAnon thing. I mean, I followed everybody in the beginning, and then I was only kind of into it for maybe the first month or two. And then I was talking to actually Lee Stranahan, who's a journalist, and he's like, this is an operation. This is very much an operation. This is like a very common communist tactic. And he was right. And and people kept saying, oh, what's the harm? What's the harm? The harm was that's what led to January 6th, which was not an insurrection, obviously. Okay. I'm so glad it finally came out and people can't say that that was an insurrection anymore. Because I knew the day it was, I almost went there that day. Okay. Thank God I didn't. Although I would not have gone into the Capitol. I would have, there were people there that knew immediately it was bullshit. They were like, someone just got shot. That was bullshit. These are actors. I had that on tape. I got to find it. But anyway, the bottom line is I didn't go, and it's not because I was into Q or whatever. It was just I was interested, you know, in this. And then they got fucked and people went to prison over that. And you know, that was not cool. That's really bad. Although again, did they really go to prison? Were people actually in prison? I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. Like I don't believe she's actually in prison. I just don't. Think about it logically. I did a little clip on that recently, but think about it logically. Your whole identity apparently is that you're this blackmailer, right? You're like, this is like, um, you know, you're this like incredible blackmailer. Like that's what you do. Like you've got, you know, cameras in every part of your house. You invite stupid rich people who are impressed by you because I don't know, you have thick gray hair, whatever. And you bring them in and you offer them all the horrible and disgusting temptations, the perverted ones. You can't just be like, oh, here's the best champagne in the world. Here's the best cigar in the world. Here's the best chocolate in the world. Let's have the best energy. You can't do that. No, you have to go to the perverse. Okay. So that's what he does. Right. So you can imagine the amount of digital blackmail that this man has, right? I mean, that's the whole purpose of this man, right? That's what we're told. And I always thought that. I agreed. Like I remember in a pool the last day I drank, having a discussion with someone about Jeffrey Epstein. This was July 4th, 2017. And I said, he's Mossad. And they laughed at me. And I said, you'll find out one day he's Mossad. And what's funny is now that everybody's saying he's Mossad, I'm saying, honestly, I don't think he's Mossad. Well, I think he is, but I think he's a double agent, just like Robert Maxwell was a double agent. But that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. Because that leads into like weird theories that I don't want to get into right now. The point I'm trying to make is you're not that good at blackmail, Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. You guys didn't learn how to blackmail well because I could blackmail better than you, right? Couldn't we all blackmail better than them? All that digital evidence and you're in a jail right now. I don't believe it. That's why I don't believe he was ever in jail. He obviously didn't kill himself. And even I think it was 4 or 5 years, whenever that was that he did, I made a video or I said it to somebody. I don't remember, but we talked about it. I might have called into my friend's radio show and I was like, I don't think he's dead. Everyone's talking about he didn't kill himself. That's what they do though. That's the thing you have to understand is this is what they do. they present you this dichotomy. Like this was where I saw it. Actually, this is where it clicked for me the first time, was with Epstein. And they say to you, they present you this, because this isn't by accident. Like they want us to see this. It's sloppy at this point. It's so sloppy. Okay. It's so fucking sloppy. Okay. They're outright telling us what they do. They have a restaurant called Cannibal. Okay. And they talk about things, how they taste and things, and it makes me want to kick them in their face. All right. And I would never do that. I'm not encouraging violence or inciting violence. This is just like in a dream. I was thinking, like, sometimes when I hear these things, it makes me want to kick them in their face, but I would never actually do that, but you do get that feeling sometimes, you know what I mean? When you read these files, these Epstein files, you do get a feeling sometimes in your stomach where you just feel like, I just feel like, I don't know, maybe doing a karate chop, or maybe doing some like river dance, the pointy toes. That's like, ooh, get real pointy with the toes. You just feel like chopping onions, when you're reading these files. You know what I'm talking about? Like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So all I'm trying to say is, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just love every single one of you people here and listening to me vent about this. I just went off on a serious tangent. Thanks for going with me. I do have to go. I do have my regularly scheduled live. It's a new thing every Saturday at 1:00. No matter what, that's my live. I'm always going to do that because I want to be consistent, especially just, for my regulars and people that really, have just been here, the OGs, Dan, Blue Murphy's been here for a long time. I mean, you guys are all just great supporters of the channel. And so, yeah, so I want to make sure I do that. And then I'll end up doing a members only one, because we are going to do that personality thing. So I'm going to set that up. I think it's going to be for Tuesday night. And then what was the last thing I wanted to tell you guys? I mean, that was really it. Just maybe like Harsh, consider like why she feels this way. It's not because she wants to fight with anybody. It's because maybe that's the only thing that keeps her stable. Sometimes you want to tell your family members, no, there really are reptilian overlords, and they just don't want to hear it. And you realize, like, maybe I shouldn't force it, because you don't want to make them rupture from reality. That's what causes breakdowns, honestly. So don't push truth on people who aren't ready for it. They have to find it when they're ready. It's like the term curiosity killed the cat. Sometimes it's better to not be curious about something and let it come to you. And we can't force them to see what we see. Eventually, they may or may not see it. Me personally, I think Olivia and Mr. Gonzabus, the way they are, I think they already see it. They don't know how to deal with it. And so that's my opinion. Take it or leave it. I pray for those families, all of them. If it wasn't a complete psyop and nobody died, I do pray for all of them. I really genuinely do. And I pray for all of us, pray for all of us. Everybody stay positive, good vibrations. Thanks, doll. So nice to see you, Deborah, Polly. I used to see a lot with Tommy, and so sad he passed away. I just miss him knowing he was there. I wasn't hanging out over there a lot once I started more on my channel, but he helped. Again, I'm just always grateful for him. He helped me kind of get, not that I'm some like big channel or whatever, but like he really helped me promote my video. And he did that for a lot of channels. I'm not the only one. He did that for a lot of people. Tommy did. And that's a good man for you, in my opinion. He was not he wasn't competitive, and I saw people do him wrong sometimes, and I was like, damn, like that's so messed up to do Tommy wrong like that. It made him upset, it made me sad. What a good soul, at least from what I saw on this side. He was just a kind, good guy, like to have a good time, and he looked like he had one heck of a life. So R.I.P. Tommy Jude. We all still think of you. You live here in this true crime community, okay? Exactly, Chloe. That's what I'm trying to say. Exactly. Yep, she is OG. Absolutely she is. No, I know, for sure. Yep. Prayers up for Tommy Jude. We still see you. We still think of you, Tommy Jude. You're outside of this third dimensional world. He's in the fourth dimension at least, so he knows everything. Anyway, you guys have a good night, and I'll be live tomorrow at 1, and we'll see what's going on then. All right. Peace out, guys.